Okay, so this is my Andor episode 6 review. So it starts off with them out in the wilderness. I assume in the camp that they were in next to where they're going to steal the payroll. And Gorn goes to meet with Cassian. And they're talking, and I just love Nemec so much. And but you knew based on last week's conversation, this week's conversation, he was a dead man. He talked about his manifesto and how they need mercenaries in the rebellion. He was smart enough to know that Clem wasn't even Cassian's real name. So yeah, I really like this kid. It sucks he had to die. So especially when Cassian said, "You'll sleep better after this is all over." Yeah, that was the kiss of death. If I didn't think he was going to die before, yeah, he's a dead man now. So, they're walking in formation like Cassian told them last week to do, so the left-handers are on the correct side. And so Skane takes Cassian aside and tells him that the commander used to be a stormtrooper. So I was just watching at the ready to see how his aim is going to be, because stormtroopers are notoriously horrible shots. So I was just watching to see if he was going to have to shoot somebody and what was going to happen. And so they get to where they're supposed to be. And so they're just waiting on the girls. They're standing by the area where they're meeting the natives and to prepare for the ceremony. And then we meet one of the commanders who he has absolute contempt for the native people. And so even his family hates him. You could hear that the son, who, if the events of this episode doesn't dissuade him, I should say, he would make a great rebel simply because when his father wanted him to wear something imperial, he was like, "I'm not wearing that." No, it could be just a kid being a kid, not wanting to wear what dad wants you to, but it's also possible he doesn't give a shit about the Empire. And of course, the mom is siding with the kid because she's a mom. And she's always whining about wanting to leave. So he wants to leave anyway, but also his wife is whining that she doesn't want to be on this planet either. So the only thing she has going for her is that she's a good mom. Anyway, so Cassian and his troop are going to be escorting the commander, lieutenant, whatever, and his family to the ceremony. So they're making sure that they have communication with the girls, because at first it didn't seem like Vel was communicating. So she planted a device. Well, Cinta planted no, it was Val who planted the device. I thought it was a bomb. I thought it was going to blow up the bridge or something. But it was just to knock out their communications. So much more subtle. And so they end up communicating, and so Vel and Cinta have to go down into the dam. And Vel is having an absolute meltdown. You can see she's having a meltdown. Cinta's like, dude, you okay? So they're able to go down into the dam. Of course, they have wetsuits on. And they get to where they need to go. And the guys get into the building, into the structure, and if you were questioning whether Lieutenant Gorn was on their side, obviously this episode left no doubt. So they immediately take the family hostage, and there turns out to be a bit of a standoff, and Cassian has his gun pointed at Imperial, and Imperial has a gun pointed at Nemec, and there's someone who has a gun pointed at the child, which didn't like. I mean, at least do the mother, if you're not going to put a gun to the colonel or whatever he was, commander or whatever. Because child. I mean, at least do that. So there was a shot, and I think it was Cinta. Cinta shot, and Cassian shot. Somebody's shot came close to hitting Nemec. And so they go in and they tell the commander that we're going to hold your family hostage unless you get us into the vault with the payroll. And if you don't, they're dead. And he's like, but I can't get into the vault. So basically, what I was hearing was that, she was convinced he was lying. But it sounds like they prepared to get into the room where the vault is, but no one bothered to consider that the vault is something different. Well, no, that's not what happened. They blew it up. Well, I shouldn't say blew it up, but they blew off the chains to the payroll so they could start collecting the payroll and putting it in the ship. And as Nemec was doing something, because somehow the Alkenzi, someone found out that the Alkenzi communications were still up. And so they discovered that, oh look, there's a heist going on. Or at least there's something going on. So Cinta turns off all the lights. And at first I'm like, why is she doing that? And then I realized that it's just the Imperials. It's just the Empire that were in darkness. The rebellion was very much in light. So she's trying to buy them some time. And the commander then sees Lieutenant Gorn. Now, Lieutenant Gorn's response to him when he was like, how could you do this? Was rather weird to me, because he said, you'll hang for this. And Lieutenant Gorn's like, after 6 years under you, I deserve that. Wait, what? I get what he's trying to say, but, huh? So, Then, as they're collecting their loot, the other Imperials come by. And they're asking the commander, what's going on? What's going on? And Lieutenant Gordon's like, this is a top secret operation. You're not supposed to be here. Go, leave. And he's trying to convince the commander to agree with him. You know, again, because they have his family hostage. So, he needs to admit, needs to go with what Lieutenant Gordon said. So, eventually someone, I guess it was Cinta, because we didn't see who it was, but somebody came and shot at one of the Imperials, and then there's a firefight, because you can't have a Star Wars without that. And Tamarin is being held up with Skeen, and he goes, cover me, and it looks like he's about to, and instead of Tamarin not being your typical stormtrooper and not being able to shoot, it seemed like Tamarin was horrible at covering him. It could have been a combination of the two. So, R.I.P. Tamarin. And so Skeen everybody manages to get into the ship, except for Cinta, who's still watching over the hostages. The commander has had a heart attack, which, well, that's a kind of sucky. I mean, what kind of comeuppance is that? Anyway, so I guess went back to watching the hostages. So everybody escapes except for Cinta and Lieutenant Gorn. We have no idea what happened with him. I would think that if he were dead, they would have shown his body. So he must have escaped. We saw that Cinta escaped. So everybody escapes except Nemec is crushed by the payroll. Because I was so happy that he almost got out of it. I thought, okay, maybe they won't kill him off. And then there's that. It crushed his spine. So they gave him some sort of injection so he would be able to at least help them escape. So he helps Cassian get the hell out of there. And Skeen helps him, convinces Vel to take him to the doctor. Vel wants to just go and drop off the loot to Luthen. Now, this is making Vel look bad. It looks like she's the one who doesn't give a shit about everybody else. She doesn't even say anything about Cinta being stuck on the planet. So, which obviously was intentional because of what happens when they get to the doctor. So Nemec is in surgery. Vel is waiting with him, obviously concerned. So okay, it wasn't that she didn't care about Nemec. She just cared about the mission more. Okay, fine. Understandable. Because once the Empire finds out, oh boy. So Skeen is held back with Cassian. They're talking. Skeen, he asks about, getting justice for his brother and, how does this feel? And he's like, I don't have a brother. Wait, what? So you lied. And then it turns out that the only reason he made this pit stop, insist on this pit stop, was because he wants to take off with the loot and is offering to split it with Cassian. And Cassian realizes that this is a really bad thing happening, so he just shoots him. Because it turns out, I mean, Cassian was doing this for money, but at the same time, it wasn't that he was being a greedy fuck and wanting to take more than his share. He was fine with taking his share. He wasn't going to steal from the rebels. He might not be the nicest of people, but he's honest. So then he goes to Vel and he has his gun drawn. And I cannot say I blame him, because it turned out Skeen was a dirtbag. How does he know if Vel isn't going to turn on him? Because at first I'm like, wait, why would he hold Vel at gunpoint? But yeah, then it occurred to me that, yeah, he probably doesn't know who to trust anymore because of what happened with Skeen. So he mentioned that he killed Skeen and this is why he killed him. She doesn't believe him. Unfortunately, he has no way of proving that, oh no, this is true. And so he gives her back the Kuiper crystal to give to Luthen. And he's like, I just want my take, and I'm out of here. And then we see Cinta standing on the planet's surface, looking up. And I don't know, is Vel gonna go back for her? What's gonna happen with Lieutenant Gorn? Because there's an all hands on deck situation on in the headquarters of the Empire, and the planet is escaping me right now because I'm an idiot. So they're talking about how, you know, this thing happened and we have to, you know, I want everyone to come up with a way of how to deal with this. Now, while this is happening, Mon Mothma is continuing the fuck my life storyline, where there's very few people in the Senate listening to her, and those who are have mentally checked out because they're all learning about this attack on Andari, I believe is the planet. So they're all learning about the attack. And then Mon Mothma brings out her pad because she sees everyone's looking at at their pads. She looks at her pad and she probably is reading about it as well, that there was an attack. And then we see Luthen doing his day job with Clea. And the woman he's showing a pendant to, I think it was a pendant, she looked a lot like Solier's mother. Now, it could just be the hairdo, but yeah, she looked like Solier's mother. And it was a lost language, so you can make up whatever it says according to Luthen. Now, it makes me wonder, does he actually have some inside knowledge? So I assume it's her driver who's just sitting there watching the news with his feet up. I'm surprised Clea allowed that. I'm surprised Clea or Luthen didn't say, dude, these are ancient artifacts. What the hell are you doing putting your feet on them? And so he asks Luthen if he has any Andari artifacts. And he's like, why? And actually, he doesn't even ask why. The driver said, because there was a raid on Andari, on the Empire, on the base in Andari. And Luthen is like, let me go check it. The driver's like, it was a joke. I was kidding. And Luthen just starts laughing hysterically. So I'm hoping that that area is soundproof, because he was laughing loud enough that they probably could have heard him otherwise. But yeah, he's happy about what happened. So now it's okay. So this story arc has ended. So now it's a matter of what's next for Cassian. We know he's still on the hunt for his sister. We now know that the Imperials know that there is a rebellion amongst them. So Deidre was right. I wonder if anybody's going to say, "Hey, you anticipated this," because she did. She said that this was happening. So, yeah, and a lot of unanswered questions of where are they going to go now, because okay, the rebellion has its money. Now, what's going to happen with the rebellion? What's going to happen with Cassian? We know he now has Nemec's manifesto. He didn't want to take it, but Val said that Nemec insisted that he have it. So maybe that's Cassian's call to action. He'll read the manifesto and start accepting the rebellion cause, not just as a mercenary, but as a true believer. So maybe we'll see next episode that while he's traveling to wherever he's going to try to track down his sister, that he ends up reading the manifesto and it starts speaking to him. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes from there. I think I covered everything. So we don't know. Well, we know Cinta survived. Lieutenant Gorn, we didn't see a dead body, so assumed alive. So is Vel gonna go back and get them? Are we going to see that? Are we just gonna follow Cassian? So yeah, like I said, so many questions as to what they're gonna do next. So, I think I covered everything from this episode. So I will see you guys next time.